All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Monday, April 5th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Welcome on back here with our afternoon meeting. I know I'm good to go live for all of us inside the trading room. Hopefully I'm good to go for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube. Welcome on back. Let's hop right into the thick of things. We ended up seeing a really nice trade here on the AMC, at least after the market opened up on the long, and then actually it provided as a pretty interesting short opportunity. So I want to start by discussing this trade. If you folks followed me from this morning's meeting, we had AMC on the watch list. It was one of probably 7. So, not too big of a list coming off of the Easter holiday, coming off of Good Friday. Market closed from last Friday, that is. But with AMC, we ended up seeing news come out early. The news out, I think, was some firm ended up providing an upgrade, a $13 price target on the company. We're not always going to just, throw a dart on the wall and hope it lands in terms of seeing the stock run up to the projected price, right? In the past, over the last week or so, we followed a stock, a couple of them, but one in particular that stands out to me. It's not his name brand, but Seal. We ended up seeing on 2 separate days over the last month or month and a half, companies addressing like a $15 price target on a $4 stock. I mean, that's pretty unordinary. So, in something like that, you would definitely be more jumpy to try and trade the stock directly for the news that's out. With AMC, it was like a $10 stock, of course, the time that the news came out, or it popped up to 10, I should say. But again, we're not expecting this to hit 13. If this can go up to 10.50, if this can go up to 11, that would be great. So it's a matter of catching it from the right level, right? You would assume 10, big breakout from 10. But this ended up providing a tough time if you tried assuming a clean pop right away from the $10 resistance. The opening print on this trade was at $10.12. Really quickly, I could probably show you that, not on the time and sales even, but on the matrix. Watch the volume bars on the right side. This will be a pretty cool tip. I mean, 10, you assume that that's going to be a big volume-based level anyway. So throughout this whole day, we've had a ton of volume traded off of 10. But look at 10.12. 10.12 is what we would call the opening bell print. You could just tell from that spike right there that at a minimum, there was a lot of volume traded directly at that price. So I'm going to put a line on the 10.12, or I'm going to put a line on 10.12 here on the chart. You could see, at least after the open, a false breakout. And then on the next attempt, bam, ended up making the big breakout that we would have hoped for. From there, moved up steadily towards that 11 level, next whole number resistance, pop and drop from there, of course. But, going into the mid to late morning, I mean, I was still bullish on AMC on the way up. But on this trade, though, I ended up noting, and this was probably more from the 5-minute chart, but I could do the same thing here. That's pretty much what I have on my main trading platform, on my other monitor. So off the pre-market highs, AMC was so active early this morning. I had this. I probably had another one here too, if I'm not mistaken, off of these highs. And, just as I kept seeing AMC move up, I'm adding 2 and 2 together. Timing of the day, like 10:30-ish, 11 o'clock, this thing's still pushing beautifully up. At some point, this thing's got to come back down. So I ended up watching this right from the 11 level. I ended up shorting it, not from there, but from 1086. I missed a couple of good opportunities on the short, but a couple of us here in the trading room caught them. Ended up getting it right from the big break right here. This is not where I got in. This is where I wished I got in from. I saw this drop without me. I was like, clenching my fist right there, so to see it move back up, I was waiting for my next opportunity. I didn't base my entry around this line or anything, but it was a matter of seeing this make a lower high, hold off 1090, which was also a pretty big level over time. I got filled at 1086 and dropped off beautifully at the time towards 1060-ish, 1065, much lower, of course, right now. So heading into the afternoon, my only issue on AMC is that it could just be a little heavily traded. Definitely is heavily traded, 82 plus million shares compared to its average across the last 50 days. That's not a whole lot, but that's also factoring in all these, pretty big volume days from late February, early March. So otherwise, I'd just say it's pretty flat. Not a whole lot going on. The momentum's lost on the way up, lost on the way down, just in this tight range. So I'll keep it on the side. I mean, we did really well on it from the morning. You don't want to fall in love with the stock too much, though. So the AMC I wanted to start off with because actually myself and Norman, we both got out of a couple of good shorts from just before. Like I said, he was in from 1075 or 1073. Still picked up like 24 cents or so. Nonetheless, though, we did well on AMC. We also did well on the CEMI trade. CEMI ended up making a beautiful push early in pre-market, and I was pretty hopeful to see this make a nice pop at some point in time, a nice, run back up. But as much as this looked great going into the morning meeting, it started to fall off right when I started the broadcast. And with that, well, it was a pop and drop, ended up providing a really good short at first. Ended up dropping off roughly from like 550-ish, 560, and went all the way down to like basically 502. Held off there pretty nicely. Now, I have the line at 530 because that was actually a pre-market level that we ended up entering from early in the morning. Myself, a couple of our traders, I think Kathleen ended up getting in right from the 530 price. A lot of buying came in from underneath there. It held under that price in pre-market. We caught the pop. That's what we talked about in the morning, but I bring that line up to you now because look what happened going into the mid-morning. It held under that price pretty nicely, a false breakout perhaps here, and then on the second go-around, history repeated. So this 530 price is really strong. And, I would say, if anything, if AMC is heavily traded, look at this thing, 227 plus million shares, whereas prior to today, this stock traded on average less than 1 million shares on average. So this is really exhausted, this one. But I mean that more on the way up, right? I'd imagine there's probably more room on the downside compared to the upside for this trade, given the amount of volume traded at this point. So I'm thinking that it could be possible to see this drop down to 530, drop down to 520 perhaps even, and maybe catch a bounce from that point. I just think that it could still provide an opportunity, maybe like alongside AMC. I'll come back to this at the end of the meeting. We'll go from top to bottom right now, see what else is looking pretty good going into the close. Then we'll go back to those two perhaps at the end. All right, so with that, the XELB, still our top percent gainer, ended up making a huge breakout after the market opened. I thought Kathleen called this one out. If not Kathleen, perhaps it was Norman. But, a really nice squeeze on this trade from like 240-ish, 235, broke higher from there, ran all the way up towards a high of over 4, came back down pretty sharply, though. Just like I'd said before with the others, this is really heavily traded, already made a pump and dump, can't look to short this on the way down. So I'm not as keen to put this on our watch list as I am like the CEMI trade here. The ACY, same thing. I was really not interested in trading this going into the morning, folks. I knew that it was active in pre-market. I don't even think I covered this that much for you, just because I knew what would happen. Yes, it moved up. If you can catch the pop early, God bless. But there are just much better stocks to trade. Easier stocks to just get a grip on and, just think what could be more, probable than not. I mean, the best thing to do on a trade like this is if you miss out on the initial breakout, you just move on to another stock. You just don't look at this because this got halted, like 3-4 times on the way up at least. And then I could just see a few times on the way down. Kind of like we did at the end of last week. We'll do a quick little game of count the halts. We got 1, 2, 3. This is down 1, 4, 5, 6. And that's it, at least for there. I think 6 halts so far on this trade today after the market opens. It's just definitely not worth watching for the afternoon. I'd probably just skip over this the next time that you happen to see it. It's more noise than anything. DYMD, going to skip over. I'm going to just go through a couple of these pretty fast. Grow, this one's pretty interesting. US Global, is this a fund or is this an equity? Class A stock, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like an equity. Made a nice breakout over 9 here, topped off at 950 on the nose. Thin order book, it just feels like this could be some noise too, although I do respect the pop and the move up heading into this time of the day. Maybe I'll come back to this. I just think that there could be better. I say that so far with no stocks on the main watch list. I have 2 on the so to say side list. I'll get back to those at the end, but got to find a pretty clean opportunity here so far. If we have nothing on our list by the end of it, I'll just stick with CEMI and AMC, I reckon. MOXC, this ended up making a nice little squeeze up earlier. I just feel like the foot's taken off the gas pedal for this. Leafs a buyout, skip over that right away. Our crazy NNOX stock. This one ended up taking a huge hit after the market opened. Damn, I took my eyes off this right away. I told you during the meeting, I was like really emphatic about it. I told you what two I was starting off with, CEMI and AMC. I stuck with those two the whole day. That was it. They didn't really provide me any room to take my eyes off them. So this NNOX, unless if you're able to get the shares to short, would have provided a really tough buying opportunity, maybe aside from the squeeze from 50 here initially, but ended up breaking lower and just not really that worth watching now. All right, we keep it moving. We had 0 stocks on the main watch list so far. I pride myself on that because normally I'm at like 7 or 8 so far on the list. BTU, yeesh. CDXC, kind of a familiar name. Damn, got nothing here, folks. I guess there are a couple of them. I maybe skipped over VUZI. So this make a nice move up from earlier today. So VUZI still at the highs of the day. There we go. We got one. Kind of a thin order book, but already broke out over 28. Look to see if it could re-break above 28 coming up pretty shortly. The other one I had, what was it, Mara? You know my stance on this, though. Probably be a better short opportunity at this point. All right, we'll hop over to the losers list, see if there's anything looking better. MTEM shortable. I don't know what the hell happened here. It got crushed after the open. Just kind of fell flat, though, heading into the mid-morning and really up until now. This ACAD, I like the liquidity on the order book, but I don't like the chart. Yeesh, folks, we got one stock on our main list. That's it. This TMDX is taking a big hit right now, or at least heading into the afternoon. It dropped off nicely. Just super big spread. You know my stance on that. I didn't mean to click this, meant to click CAN. And with that, I was going to bring up my Bitcoin chart. So we ended up seeing Mara. We ended up seeing Riot make some big moves up today. The Dow has been flat today, at least across the afternoon, but up 400 points. Canon ended up taking a big hit today, ended up dropping off after the market opened at the lows right now, and one that we are pretty familiar with. So I guess that makes 2. Can we'll put on our main watch list. Let me just get news out for Can, see if there's any bad news or bad press on Canon here. I know eBond took a big hit today. That was the one stock that gave me a tough time today, pretty surprisingly. Did well on it last week, and today just not really a good buying opportunity. Took 2 losses on that. Nope, I got no news on Can today. There's like not even a single headline relating to this morning on Canon. But hey, at the lows of the day right now, we'll definitely just put this on our list. For right now, I'll just drag up the Bitcoin chart just to show you. Little crypto minute right now. So really quick, just show the 1 hour chart here across the last few days from the end of last week going into this week practically. You know, ended up making a nice little push going into the end of the month, a little bit of a drop going into Easter practically, but today a nice squeeze back up. And you know my stance on Bitcoin long term. And for anyone new, I'm super bullish. So, it's been kind of having a tough time making another clean pop or breakout. At least, here we ended up seeing a nice pop and squeeze, but kind of fell flat after. There's our drop. So really, this is our first instance back over all of these different EMAs I have here, the 50, 100, 200. And with that, I'm hopeful to see a nice squeeze up higher at some point very shortly. It's been a little bit of a consolidation stage here. So with a consolidation stage, and should I be right with a breakout? That breakout should be bountiful. So, we'll be patient. We'll wait and see. I'm pretty surprised that another name brand company or CEO hasn't really come out like Elon Musk has with Tesla to put a good portion of their treasury into Bitcoin. But that makes it that much more exciting because, my belief is that we're going to see a bunch come out relatively soon, if not, right now. I'm sure across the remainder of this year, we'll get some big names and big companies out there. But nonetheless, with Canon right now at the lows heading into the end of the day, you would like to think it's going to break lower. But I always say this with all the crypto mining stocks, they never really make a second big move in their continued trend heading into the afternoon. So with Mara, I wouldn't have expected a second big move up heading into the close. Market's pretty flat anyway. And with Canon, I mean, it looks interesting on the short side, but if it makes a false breakdown and move back up right over 1920-ish, 1925 where it's at now, then I'd expect a dead cat bounce and a squeeze from there. Oh, there we go. So there's our breakdown below 1920 perhaps there first, and we'll see if this ends up moving right back above it or if it drops down closer to 19. You got a 55,000 share order on the bid, so it would seem likely to have that fall closer to that order on the bid. If not, false break that, and then we'll see where it goes. GSX took a hit today. Wow, to see this stock in the sub 30 now. That's crazy. I was going to say insane, but insanity is the definition of doing the same thing over and over and expecting expecting a different result. With this year, this is not insanity. This is just straight craziness. This daily chart over the last year and a half, seeing this run up from basically 45, 50 up to 140, back down to 50, back up to 140, back down, and look at where it is here. So, just keep a good eye on this. Now that it's getting closer and closer within our price range, you can see the spread start to fill in a bit further. The order book, I should say, that is. Maybe it could be a good side list stock at some point. Maybe, tomorrow, perhaps. All right, let's see what else we got here, folks. Another crypto stock taking a big hit today, and I guess this is not too surprising. I talked to you about this just a moment ago. Didn't show the screen, but the EBON stock. I took 2 losses on this trade today. The only stock I took losses on. I think it was a 7-cent and a 9-cent loss respectively on this trade. But the news that came out, it definitely is justifying this move right now. So the news that came out, it was from the end of last week, right? I mean, there was news this morning even that led to this pop in the pre-market, but the news out otherwise from the end of last week, I think it was a common stock offering, and they set the price at like $6.10. It never came close to that price going into the end of last week, Thursday that was. And with this, it's getting the drop closer to 610, I should say. I don't know if it's moving directly with Ken or the China market or all these other China stocks that were dropping off from earlier. I know that NEO is dropping off quite a bit. IQ was dropping off at least from before. TME, I saw them all drop. It looks like they all made a bounce except for that EBON stock. So that might be on the way down to 610. Jose live inside our trading room says the XELB is moving back up, and it definitely is starting to. Perhaps we'll call it that second gust of winds, the second chance move up here. So if you're in from right around 325, 330-ish, roughly from that range, then honestly, I'd look to take a profit soon. It's very rare to see a stock pump and dump and then make a second big move up higher. I know that a week or two ago, I had egg on my face, I should say. I ended up calling out a stock, said it wasn't going to make a big pop, and lo and behold, it did. But that does not happen too often, to see a stock already pump, dump, and then make a second big move up after it had already dumped off. Like to see a stock like VUZI at the highs of the day, it's easier to anticipate momentum to carry that upward in its direction. So for right now, I definitely will put the XELB on our list. I'm hopeful to be wrong on that. Just, don't be surprised if I am. And if you're in this trade from a lower price, the XELB, then I'm sure that you're doing pretty good right now on that run. All right, so Norman with the UEC. I don't have anything else from social media, and then this will wrap it up just about. Yeah, this UEC looking pretty interesting here. I clearly skipped over it. So, yeah, I mean, beautiful push up to the high of the day. Level 1 stock, I'd say. It looks like this ended up making kind of a squeeze up back on 316. Ended up topping off right at $3.67 there. All right, I like this call, definitely. UEC. I'm just checking my Benzinga Pro right now. I don't have anything here. Nothing else that looks too good.